Hi, and welcome to this live launch from Bergen, Norway. My name is Stig Owen. I'm the product manager for the MOTUS family of sensors. With me today, I got
Inger Graves, and I am the product manager for the acoustics part of the Aanderaa product family. And we are today at a lake outside of Bergen, Norway, where my parents have a small basic cottage that I grew up spending my spare time in. And here we have access to a lake, and I've been testing some equipment here over the years, and we're going to show you some results of that later, along with some of the products that we're launching today.
And we got the perfect Bergen weather.
It's not raining.
It's not raining.
Yet.
Well, it doesn't rain that often here. Well, so yeah, I'm the product manager for the MOTUS sensors, and the MOTUS family is what you could call it now these days. So it started with the MOTUS sensor, the directional wave full version that came out a few years ago now. We've used that in a number of applications, large floating platforms, 4 by 3 meters. We used it on smaller buoys. Our standard solution is the 1.8 meter buoy that we use.
It can really be adapted for a lot of sizes.
It is very adaptable, but it has one lack, I would say, and that is, well, it's not a lack, but it's only the full version with the wave direction. And somebody was saying that, okay, in some cases, we also only have the need for the wave height version.
Yeah.
So what we did was that we took out the wave direction from the sensor. So it has the same calibration, but it only has the output of the wave height.
So if you don't really need to know the directional part of the wave spectrum, but you do need to know about the wave height, and
Exactly.
this is a dedicated version for that.
Absolutely. Then we're going to move over to the second product, which I'm going to show you. This is the MOTUS Lite OEM version. So this is not a complete sensor. It is a component that goes into your complete solution. So if you want to market a sensor in your own name, you could do that with this component.
So that one you have to build it in and make it watertight, I see.
Exactly. You need to look at the housing. You need to look at, okay, what are the requirements in your region? You need anything like CE marking in Europe. Those things you have to be accountable for. And it's only sold under contract. So if you're only looking for 1 or 2 sensors to integrate, I would say use the MOTUS Wave Height or the MOTUS Wave Direction Sensor full version instead of going to this one. But if you have a larger number of sensors that you want to integrate into your solution, this is a good option for you. And then we're going to move over to the third sensor I'm going to show you. We're going to show you.
Yes.
So I'm going to give it to you, Inger.
And this is the Aanderaa current profiler. And this is the basic version of that sensor, where you are computing the ocean currents from the profiler and outputting the data to another back system or to a Seaguard. This is a complete sensor. It doesn't store the data. It sends it on computed values. And so far, this has been mounted this way, measuring ocean currents above the head, or in many cases now we also put them on buoys this way, and you connect the cable to the logger that's on the buoy. So far, measuring currents have been the general features of this sensor, but now we have added a pressure sensor internally to the head. And there's 2 reasons for that. One of them is just to know where it's located in the water column, so you know at what depth you're at. But the other reason is also by including that, we could actually measure currents and waves directly with just this sensor. We don't need any external circuitry to do so. We can measure currents and waves and output the computed currents and wave data to a logger or a Seaguard or whatever you want to connect it to. You can either connect it with a serial cable or on our standard ICAP.
We did some testing at this location here this summer.
Yes, so we had a very nice fall in Bergen. So I used the opportunity to take my father out, and we did some testing out here in the lake. And my father is 84 years old. And so I put him to work being my crew and took this sensor and some other sensors on a Seaguard to test some of the new functionalities of this, along with some of our newer sensors.
And I can see he's the one doing the rowing.
I got him to do all the heavy lifting. He's still in pretty good shape.
I would say so.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. He's always very enthusiastic about my work. But his motivation was also to understand more about this lake, because being a lake close to a city, there's been a lot of runoff over the years. And there's been, a situation where it's been over nutrificated and, low oxygen levels. And we wanted to see if it was a case that is now recovered. So if we look at the data, that my dad was mostly interested in the oxygen levels. Unfortunately, it is fairly low. It was about between 60 and 70%, as you can see in this graph. And that is lower than what we would like it to be.
So how is the fishing in this lake then?
Well, the fishing isn't too bad, but I've always wondered if it was a good lake to do some fishing in. But then also I have seen that it has recovered some over the years in the upper layer. This was in the lower layers. And as you can see, if you were at a fish farm, this would be very significantly lower than what you would like to see in terms of the oxygen levels. Also, you can see here the turbidity levels were very low. So it's a very clear, at least it was in this period that I was measuring. But if you go to the next slide, what you also see is part of the reason for that. And that's why it's so good to combine these sensors with a current sensor, because you can see here, although it looks like there is a lot of movement here, if you look at the y-axis, there's very, very low currents, which means that there's a small tidal variation that is driven, but it's not a lot of water exchange, which again would have helped maybe getting those lower layers more full of life and higher oxygen levels there. So we had some fun, my dad and I. We did test all the equipment and had a good day here. But in order for making these sensors work at all, it's really important to have a good calibration.
Yes, and my colleague Jarle Heltene, who is the technical product manager for most of the Aanderaa sensors, he's going to show you a little bit about how we do the calibration, and he's going to explain a little bit about how we do the calibration. So over to you, Jarle.
Okay, thank you, Inger and Stig. And as Stig said, my name is Jarle Heltene. I'm technical product manager, but also support manager at Aanderaa. Welcome to this Contica room. Contica is a short for compass and tilt calibration. And this jig is the one that we use for calibrating all our sensor with compass and tilt. I will now put it on the jig. And when this sensor is now connected to the jig is turning 360 degrees and doing also 40 degrees tilt in all directions. So with using this automatic system, we collect a lot of data for all the single step around 360 degrees and with 40 degrees. And based on this information, we then calculate calibration coefficients, either if it's for a Doppler current sensor or a MOTUS. And then the result of this is stored inside the sensor, and all the parameters involving direction or tilt will then be automatically calculated. When you have done a calibration on one of these sensors, you don't need a regular recalibration. It's more like if you have some suspect that there is something wrong with the compass, or it has been exposed to a heavy magnetic field or shock, then you should check it and see that the heading is okay. And if it's not, you should return it for a recalibration in this jig. Also, when you do installation, you should be aware that this sensor is using the magnetic air field to calculate the heading and direction. So if there are some magnetism in close proximity to the sensor, you should consider maybe changing that, or you can, in some cases, also using an external compass away from the sensor. So with this, I'm handing back to Inger and Stig in the field, and thank you.
Thank you, Jarle. So I've moved over to the lake side here. And as you can see behind me, we have the bottom mooring frame that we have with Aanderaa for now a number of years. This one has been out in the water for now, well, I guess a couple of months, maybe more. And you can see there's not much growing going on here. The biofouling in this area is very low. So it looks nice and shiny still, yellow. Like you can see behind me, it has a gimbal function, which puts it then horizontally, the instrument, or in this case, the Doppler head. So when you put it down in the bottom mooring frame, and you have, of course, then connected the cable, so you get the data somewhere. Then you're going to put it down at the bottom of the seabed, and in many cases, the bottom might be tilted. That keeps the instrument or the sensor in a horizontal position, so you get the most accurate data that you want. And this is what we wanted to show you in this live launch here from Bergen. We kept it within our 15 minutes time frame. And I want to say a big thank you to those behind the cameras, Kathleen and Ryden, Jarle in Kotika. I'm Stig Owen.
And I'm Inga Grace, and I think we did it within 15 minutes. We launched the Wave Height Sensor, the MOTUS OEM sensor,
And the DCPS with embedded pressure sensor. So thank you very much from us in Bergen, and we wish you all a good day.
Bye-bye.